I'm Daniel, a 38-year-old architect with a penchant for clean lines and stable foundations, both in buildings and in life. My wife, Claire, 36, is a freelance photographer whose vibrant energy fills our Seattle home with warmth. We've been married for 12 years, our life a mosaic of shared dreams, late-night talks, and quiet mornings over coffee. Our daughter, Lily, 8, is the heart of our world, her laughter echoing through our craftsman-style house. Everything felt solid, like the blueprints I draft daily, until I noticed the first crack. It was subtle. Claire's phone, once left carelessly on the counter, was now glued to her hand. She'd angle the screen away when I walked by, her fingers tapping with a secretive rhythm. At first, I chalked it up to work, clients, bookings, maybe a new project. But her eyes, those hazel pools I'd memorized, wouldn't meet mine as often. She'd laugh too quickly, her voice a half note too high, dismissing my questions about her day. I'd ask about her latest shoot, and she'd pivot to Lily's school or the weather. The air in our home felt charged, like the moment before a storm. I tried to dismiss it. Claire was my anchor, the woman who'd danced barefoot with me at our wedding, who'd cried in my arms when we lost our first pregnancy. Betrayal wasn't in our story. But one night, as she slept, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I don't know why I looked. Instinct, maybe. A notification from Evan's studio flashed. "Can't stop thinking about you." My stomach dropped. Evan was her assistant, a lanky 29-year-old with a man bun and a knack for lighting setups. I'd met him at her last gallery show, his handshake too firm, his smile lingering on Claire a beat too long. I didn't wake her. I sat in the dark, the phone's glow burning into my retinas. My mind raced. When had this started? Was it just words or something more? I thought of our life, our plans for a 10th anniversary trip to Italy, the way Claire still tucked Lily in every night. The foundation of our marriage felt like it was shifting, and I was helpless to stop it. I didn't sleep that night, my architect's brain drafting scenarios instead of buildings, each one darker than the last. By morning, I was resolute. I'd watch, wait, and uncover the truth. Claire kissed me goodbye, her lips soft but distant, and I wondered if I was kissing a stranger. The day stretched ahead, heavy with questions I wasn't ready to ask. The next week was a study in restraint. I didn't confront Claire, though every fiber of me screamed to demand answers. Instead, I became a detective in my own life, observing the woman I loved like she was a puzzle to solve. Her routines hadn't changed. She still left for shoots with her camera bag slung over her shoulder, still hummed off-key while cooking dinner, but the details were off. She'd take calls in the backyard, her voice low, her laughter unfamiliar. She'd come home later, blaming traffic or a demanding client, her clothes carrying a faint scent of sandalwood, not her usual jasmine perfume. I started cross-referencing her schedule. Claire's photography business was thriving, but her calendar was oddly vague. Studio time blocked out hours, but when I called her studio line, it often went to voicemail. One afternoon, I drove by her workspace, a converted loft in Capitol Hill. Her car was there, but so was Evan's beat-up Jeep. The windows were dark, and I sat in my truck, heart pounding, imagining them inside. I didn't go in. I wasn't ready for what I might find. Instead, I dug deeper. I checked our shared credit card statements, something I hadn't done in years. There were charges I didn't recognize. A coffee shop in Fremont she never mentioned. A boutique hotel downtown for a single night, marked as a client meeting. My hands shook as I printed the statements, circling each anomaly like evidence in a trial. I even hacked into her cloud backups, guilt gnawing at me but desperation stronger. There, buried in a folder labeled miscellaneous, were photos she hadn't shown me. Claire and Evan at a park, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her waist. The date stamp was 2 months ago, right after Lily's school play. The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was deliberate, planned. I thought of Evan's smug grin, the way he'd linger at our house during Claire's work-from-home days. I thought of Claire's recent habit of locking her phone, her sudden interest in self-care weekends away. Each clue was a brick in a wall separating us. I didn't tell friends or family. This was my burden. But I confided in my brother, Mark, over beers. He urged me to confront her, but I couldn't, not yet. I needed to understand the depth of her deception. That night, Claire came home late, her cheeks flushed. She kissed me and I tasted mint, not her usual wine. "Long day," she said, avoiding my eyes. I nodded, my smile a mask. Inside, I was plotting. I'd follow her, track her movements, and when the time came, I'd know exactly how to make her feel the weight of what she'd done. The architect in me was designing something new, not a building, but a reckoning. I started tailing Claire, a surreal act that made me feel like a stranger in my own life. I'd tell her I was working late, then park near her studio, watching from my truck. One evening, she left with Evan, their laughter carrying across the street. They climbed into his Jeep and drove to a bar in Ballard, one we'd never been to together. I followed, my pulse a drumbeat. Inside, they sat in a corner booth, their knees touching under the table. She leaned into him, her hand brushing his arm, her smile the one she used to save for me. I didn't go in, I couldn't. I sat in the parking lot, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles whitened. The next day, I installed a tracking app on our shared family tablet, which Claire sometimes used. It was a violation, I knew, but so was her secrecy. The app pinged her location at a motel in Tacoma, mid-afternoon, when she told me she was shooting a wedding. I drove there, my mind a haze of dread and fury. Her car was in the lot, next to Evan's Jeep. I waited, hidden behind tinted windows, until they emerged an hour later. Claire's hair was mussed, her blouse untucked. Evan kissed her, long and slow, before they parted. I snapped photos with my phone, each click a nail in the coffin of our marriage. I didn't confront her that night. Instead, I cataloged everything. Texts I'd screenshot from her phone while she showered, hotel receipts, the photos from the motel. I built a timeline, meticulous as any blueprint. The betrayal spanned months, maybe longer. Evan wasn't just a fling, he was a fixture woven into her life while I was at work, designing homes for other families. I wondered what she told him about me. Was I the oblivious husband, the fool who didn't notice? The pain was physical, a vice around my chest. I stopped eating, barely slept. Lily noticed, asking why I looked sad. I lied, said it was work stress, hating how easily the lie came. Claire, meanwhile, played her role. Loving wife, doting mother. She'd cook my favorite meals, ask about my day, her performance flawless. But I saw the cracks. Her phone never left her side, and she'd flinch when I touched her unexpectedly. I started planning. Revenge wasn't enough. It had to be precise, devastating. I'd expose her, not just to Evan but to everyone who mattered, her clients, her friends, our families. I'd strip away the life she'd built on lies. But first, I needed one final piece of proof, something undeniable. I decided to catch them in the act on my terms. The architect in me was drafting a trap, and Claire was walking right into it. I spent days designing the perfect setup. Claire had a shoot scheduled at a waterfront estate in Bainbridge Island, a high-profile job she'd bragged about for weeks. She'd mentioned Evan assisting, which gave me an opening. I called the client, posing as Claire's manager, and confirmed the booking details. Then I booked a nearby Airbnb, claiming it was for a work retreat. My plan was simple but ruthless. I'd catch them together, record it, and use it to unravel her world. I told Claire I'd be at a conference in Portland, a lie she accepted without question. Instead, I took the ferry to Bainbridge, my camera and a small recorder in my bag. The estate was sprawling, with floor-to-ceiling windows facing the Puget Sound. I arrived early, hiding my truck in a wooded area nearby. Through binoculars, I watched Claire and Evan arrive in her SUV. They unloaded equipment, but their touches lingered. Her hand on his back, his fingers grazing her waist. My stomach churned, but I stayed focused. The client, a wealthy couple, greeted them warmly. I waited until the shoot began, then slipped onto the property, posing as a groundskeeper when a neighbor glanced my way. The estate had a guest house, unused during the shoot, and I found a vantage point with a clear view of the main house. Claire was directing the couple, her professionalism a mask. Evan adjusted lights, his eyes on her more than the equipment. When the client stepped out for a break, I saw my chance. I'd learned from the tracking app that Claire and Evan often lingered after shoots, using empty venues for their rendezvous. Sure enough, as the clients left for lunch, Claire locked the front door. Through the window, I watched them collapse onto a couch, their hands frantic, oblivious to the world. I recorded it all, the camera's zoom capturing every detail. The footage was raw, undeniable proof of her betrayal in high definition. I didn't stop there. I hacked into Claire's professional email, forwarding the video to myself for safekeeping. Then I planted a seed. I sent an anonymous tip to the client, hinting at unprofessional conduct during the shoot. I knew it wouldn't end her career, but it would sting. Back at the Airbnb, I backed up the footage on a secure drive, my hands shaking with adrenaline. The architect in me admired the precision of my trap, but the husband in me was breaking. That night, I returned home before Claire, acting normal as she walked in, flushed from her long day. She kissed Lily goodnight, then me, her lips cold. I smiled, hiding the storm inside. The footage was my weapon, but I wasn't ready to use it. I wanted her to feel secure, to think her secret was safe. The cruelest revenge, I realized, wasn't confrontation. It was letting her build her lies higher before I brought them crashing down. For 2 weeks, I lived a double life. To Claire, I was the same Daniel, supportive husband, tired architect, distracted but present. I helped with Lily's homework, mowed the lawn, even planned a family picnic, all while carrying the weight of her betrayal. Inside, I was a furnace, my anger tempered by calculation. The footage from Bainbridge was my ace, but I needed more than exposure. I wanted Claire to feel the betrayal's depth, to lose what she valued most. Her reputation, her control, her carefully curated life. I dug into Evan's world. He was more than Claire's assistant. He was her confidant, her escape. I found his social media, a mix of artsy photos and cryptic posts about finding real connection. I created a fake profile, posing as a gallery owner, and messaged him, probing for weaknesses. He was cocky, eager to impress, hinting at a muse who inspired his work. I knew he meant Claire. I also learned he was pitching a solo exhibit, banking on Claire's connections to secure it. That was my leverage. I started small, sowing discord. Using the fake profile, I sent Evan a vague warning about trusting the wrong people, hinting at Claire's loyalty. I didn't expect him to confront her, but I wanted him uneasy. Meanwhile, I tampered with Claire's world. I canceled a major shoot, posing as her to the client, and leaked a rumor to her network about her unreliability. Her phone buzzed with confused messages, her stress palpable. She'd vent to me, blaming miscommunications, and I'd nod, my sympathy a lie. At home, I watched her unravel. She was jumpy, checking her phone constantly, her laughter forced. Lily noticed, asking why mommy was mad all the time. I shielded our daughter, but the guilt of my secrecy gnawed at me. I wasn't just punishing Claire. I was risking Lily's stability. Yet I couldn't stop. The architect in me saw the endgame. A public reckoning that would leave Claire exposed, Evan humiliated, and their affair in ruins. I planned the final blow for Claire's next gallery show, a high-stakes event with her biggest clients and Seattle's art scene. I'd project the Bainbridge footage on the gallery's walls, timed for maximum impact. I'd invited Evan's potential investors, ensuring his dreams would collapse alongside hers. It was cruel, yes, but so was her betrayal. As the show's date neared, I refined every detail, my blueprint flawless. Claire, oblivious, kissed me goodnight, her touch a ghost of what it once was. I lay awake, the weight of my plan both thrilling and crushing. The storm was coming, and I'd be its architect, tearing down the life she'd built on lies. The days leading to Claire's gallery show were a masterclass in deception, mine, not hers. I moved through our home like a ghost, playing the dutiful husband while my mind churned with plans. Claire was distracted, her focus split between the show and whatever she whispered into her phone when she thought I wasn't listening. I'd catch fragments of her conversations with Evan, hushed promises, laughter that cut me like glass. Each word fueled my resolve. The architect in me was no longer building homes. I was constructing a collapse. I finalized the logistics for the gallery event. The venue, a sleek space in Pioneer Square, had a state-of-the-art projection system, perfect for my purposes. I contacted the tech crew under a false name, posing as Claire's assistant, and arranged access to the system for a surprise tribute. They didn't question it. Claire's reputation as a visionary photographer made such requests plausible. I uploaded the Bainbridge footage to a secure drive, editing it into a loop that would play at the show's peak, when the room was packed with her clients, colleagues, and Evan's investors. To ensure maximum impact, I invited key players. Using the fake gallery owner profile, I confirmed Evan's attendance, flattering his ego with promises of exposure. I also sent personalized invites to Claire's biggest clients, hinting at a career-defining moment. My brother Mark, the only one I'd confided in, warned me I was going too far. "You're not just hurting her, Dan. You're torching everything," he said. I didn't care. Claire had torched our marriage first. At home, I kept up the facade. I helped Claire pack her prints, complimented her work, even suggested a new frame for her centerpiece photo. She smiled, but her eyes were distant, already elsewhere. I wondered if she sensed the shift in me, the way my touches were calculated, my words measured. Lily was my anchor, her innocence a reminder of what I was fighting for, and what I risked losing. I tucked her in each night, promising silently to shield her from the fallout. I also escalated my sabotage. I hacked Claire's website, subtly altering her portfolio to include blurry, amateurish shots, enough to raise eyebrows but not enough to scream sabotage. Her inbox filled with confused client emails, her stress mounting. Evan, too, was fraying. I'd sent him another cryptic message, implying Claire was using him for her own gain. I didn't need them to break up. I just needed them vulnerable, off-balance when the hammer fell. As the gallery show loomed, I felt the thrill of control, my blueprint nearing completion. Claire's world was about to shatter, and I'd be the one holding the pieces. The night before the gallery show, I barely slept. My office, once a sanctuary for drafting blueprints, was now a war room. The secure drive with the Bainbridge footage sat on my desk, its contents a ticking bomb. I'd rehearsed every step. I'd arrive early, blend into the crowd, and trigger the projection from a remote laptop. The tech crew had confirmed the system was ready, oblivious to my true intent. I'd also prepared a fallback, printed stills from the footage, ready to distribute if the projection failed. Nothing would stop this. Claire was a whirlwind, her nerves fraying as she finalized details. She spent hours on the phone with Evan, their voices low through the walls. I caught her checking her reflection, adjusting her dress, a black number she'd never worn for me. The sight twisted something deep inside, but I buried it. I offered to help with last-minute errands, my voice steady, and she brushed me off, saying Evan had it covered. Of course he did. I used her distraction to dig deeper into Evan's life. A quick search revealed his financial troubles, credit card debt, a late car payment. He was banking on the gallery show to land his exhibit deal, a lifeline Claire had likely promised. I sent an anonymous tip to his investors, questioning his professionalism and hinting at personal entanglements. It was a small blow, but it would make his fall sweeter. I also contacted a rival photographer, feeding them details about Claire's upcoming projects, ensuring her career would take another hit post-show. Lily sensed the tension. "Why's Mommy so busy?" she asked, her eyes wide. I hugged her, promising everything would be okay, hating the lie. I'd already arranged for her to stay with my parents during the show, sparing her the chaos. Claire didn't question it. She was too consumed with her own world. That night, she kissed me absent-mindedly, her mind clearly on Evan. I smiled, my heart a furnace. She had no idea the trap was set. I packed my bag for the show. Laptop, drive, printed stills, and a burner phone for anonymous texts. I'd also written a script, a brief speech I'd deliver after the footage played, exposing Claire's lies to the crowd. It was cold, calculated, designed to strip her bare. The architect in me admired its precision. The husband in me dreaded its cost. As I lay in bed, Claire's breathing soft beside me, I visualized the moment. Her shock, Evan's panic, the crowd's gasps. It was a cruel design, but it felt just. Tomorrow, I'd tear down the facade she'd built, and she'd see the man she'd underestimated. The countdown had begun, and I was ready to light the fuse. The gallery show was a glittering affair, Seattle's art scene packed into the Pioneer Square venue. I arrived early, dressed in a nondescript suit, blending with caterers and early guests. The space hummed with anticipation, Claire's vibrant prints lining the walls, each one a testament to her talent and her deception. I spotted her across the room, radiant in her black dress, greeting clients with a smile that used to be mine. Evan hovered nearby, adjusting a light, his eyes never straying far from her. My pulse quickened, but I stayed focused. I slipped into the tech booth, a small room overlooking the gallery. The crew was busy, and my assistant credentials went unquestioned. I connected my laptop to the projection system, the Bainbridge footage queued and ready. The remote trigger was set. One click from my phone would unleash it. I tested the system, a blank slide flashing briefly on the wall, unnoticed by the growing crowd. Everything was in place. I returned to the main floor, a ghost among the chatter, my burner phone heavy in my pocket. Claire worked the room, her laughter bright but brittle. I saw the strain in her, worries about her recent cancellations, perhaps, or tension with Evan. He was schmoozing with investors, his man bun bobbing as he gestured grandly. I recognized the investors from my research. They'd received my anonymous tip and were already eyeing him skeptically. I mingled, overhearing snippets about Claire's recent inconsistencies. My earlier sabotage was working, planting seeds of doubt. Lily was safe with my parents, a small comfort as I navigated the crowd. I avoided Claire's gaze, though she nearly bumped into me once, too distracted to notice. I wondered what she'd say if she knew I was here, orchestrating her downfall. The thought was bitter, but I pushed it aside. This wasn't about love anymore. It was about justice. I'd given her everything, years, trust, a family, and she'd traded it for stolen moments with Evan. As the evening peaked, Claire took the stage for her speech, thanking her team and clients. Evan stood at her side, proprietary, his hand brushing hers. The crowd applauded, unaware of the bomb about to drop. I moved to a corner, phone in hand, my thumb hovering over the trigger. The footage would play mid-speech, its images searing into every eye in the room. I'd follow with my speech, naming her betrayal, then walk away, leaving her to face the wreckage. My heart pounded, a mix of dread and exhilaration. The architect in me saw the structure complete. The husband in me felt its weight. I counted down, the seconds ticking like a metronome. Claire's voice filled the room, and I prepared to shatter her world. Claire's speech was in full swing, her voice confident as she described her artistic journey. The crowd hung on her words, unaware of the storm I was about to unleash. I stood in the shadows, phone in hand, my thumb steady. The moment felt surreal, like drafting a building I knew would collapse. I pressed the trigger. The projection system hummed, and the gallery's massive screen flickered. Claire's speech faltered as the Bainbridge footage began. A grainy but unmistakable image of her and Evan, tangled on the estate's couch, their intimacy laid bare. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Claire froze, her face draining of color. Evan's jaw dropped, his eyes darting to the screen, then to her. The footage looped, each frame a hammer blow to their facade. Whispers turned to murmurs, then a roar of shock. Clients clutched their drinks, investors stepped back, and colleagues exchanged stunned glances. I stepped forward, my voice cutting through the chaos. "This is the real Claire," I said, my tone cold, deliberate. "A woman who builds her life on lies, betraying her family for her assistant." Claire's eyes found mine, wide with horror. "Daniel?" she whispered. But I didn't stop. I named Evan, detailing their months of deception, the motel meetings, the stolen afternoons. I held up the printed stills, tossing them into the crowd like confetti. People scrambled, some turning away, others staring at Claire as if seeing her for the first time. Evan tried to speak, but a client cut him off, demanding answers. His investors stormed out, their faith in him shattered. I didn't linger. I walked out, leaving Claire to face the fallout. The night air was sharp, my breath visible in the Seattle chill. My phone buzzed, Mark, checking in, but I ignored it. The architect in me felt a grim satisfaction. The plan had executed flawlessly. But the husband in me was hollow, the victory tasting like ash. I'd exposed her, humiliated her, but the pain of her betrayal hadn't eased. I drove to my parents' house, needing to see Lily, to remind myself why I'd done this. Claire called repeatedly, her voicemails a mix of sobs and apologies. I didn't listen past the first. Evan texted too, from a number I hadn't seen, begging to explain. I blocked him. The gallery show was trending online, posts on X calling it a career-ending scandal. Claire's website crashed under the traffic, her reputation in tatters. I designed this, every detail, but the weight of it pressed harder than I'd expected. Lily slept peacefully when I checked on her, unaware of the storm I'd unleashed. I sat by her bed, wondering if I'd gone too far, if my revenge had cost more than Claire's lies. The night stretched on, and I braced for the aftermath. The morning after the gallery show, Seattle buzzed with Claire's downfall. X posts dissected the scandal, some pitying her, others gleeful at her humiliation. Her clients canceled contracts, citing professional concerns. Her studio's voicemail overflowed, unanswered. I stayed offline, avoiding the noise, but Mark forwarded me a local blog post. Photographers public shaming Rock's art scene. It described Claire's tearful exit, Evan's failed attempts to salvage his pitch, and the crowd's stunned silence. My name wasn't mentioned. I'd been a shadow, just as planned. Claire didn't come home. She texted that she was staying with a friend, begging to talk. I didn't respond. Lily asked where Mommy was, and I said she was working, my voice steady despite the ache. I took Lily to school, her chatter about art class a painful reminder of Claire's influence. My parents offered to keep her longer, sensing the storm wasn't over. I agreed, needing space to navigate what came next. I went to the house, expecting silence, but found Claire's things in disarray. Half-packed bags, scattered prints, a broken frame. She'd been here, maybe hoping to face me. I found a note on the counter. Daniel, I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. Please, let's talk. Her handwriting trembled, but I felt no sympathy. She'd chosen Evan, chosen lies, and now she faced the consequences. I crumpled the note, tossing it into the trash. Evan's life was unraveling too. A quick check showed his exhibit deal was dead. His social media flooded with accusations of unprofessionalism. I'd sent one final anonymous tip, leaking his debts to a local art forum, ensuring his credibility was shot. It was petty but satisfying. He'd been complicit, smug in his role as Claire's escape. Now he had nothing. I met Mark for coffee, needing to decompress. He was blunt. You got your revenge, but what's the cost? Lily, your piece. I didn't have an answer. The architect in me saw a successful design. Claire's career in ruins, Evan's dreams crushed. But the husband saw a fractured family. I'd planned the exposure, but not the emptiness that followed. Mark urged me to talk to Claire, to consider Lily's future, but I wasn't ready. The pain was too raw, her betrayal too fresh. Back home, I sorted through Claire's things, not out of nostalgia but necessity. I found a hidden journal, its pages filled with her thoughts on Evan, on me. She called me distant, said Evan saw her soul. It was a knife to the gut, but it steeled my resolve. The revenge wasn't over. I'd take the house, the savings, everything she valued. The gallery show was just the beginning. I'd build a new life for Lily and me, and Claire would live with the wreckage she'd created. As I read Claire's journal, the true nature of her betrayal unfolded, and it was stranger than I'd imagined. She didn't just fall for Evan's charm. Their connection was rooted in a bizarre, almost ritualistic collaboration. The journal described private art sessions, where they'd photograph each other in abandoned buildings, posing in surreal, intimate tableaus they called living sculptures. These weren't just affairs, they were performances, blending their bodies and emotions into art they planned to unveil anonymously. Claire wrote of feeling liberated, as if our marriage was a cage, and Evan was her key. The non-standard betrayal hit harder than a simple affair. She hadn't just given her heart to Evan. She'd crafted a secret world with him, one that mocked our life together. The photos I'd found weren't casual. They were part of this project, a portfolio they'd hoped to pitch to avant-garde galleries. She'd used our family's stability, my trust, to fund this double life, channeling her earnings into their art. The boutique hotel charges, the late nights, it was all for this. I sat in our living room, the journal open, my anger reigniting. The architect in me saw the twisted genius of their plan. Bold, risky, almost admirable if it weren't so cruel. But the husband in me was gutted. Claire hadn't just cheated. She'd reinvented herself with Evan, erasing me from her narrative. I thought of Lily, oblivious to her mother's secret world, and my resolve hardened. Claire's punishment wouldn't just be public shame. It would be personal, stripping away the identity she'd built with him. I contacted a lawyer, a shark named Rachel who specialized in high-stakes divorces. I laid out everything, the footage, the journal, the financial records. Rachel's eyes gleamed. She saw a case that could leave Claire with nothing. I also reached out to a gallery contact, someone outside Claire's circle, and leaked details of her living sculptures project, ensuring it would be dismissed as derivative and unethical. The art world was small. Word would spread, tainting her and Evan's work forever. Claire called again, her voicemails desperate. "Daniel, it wasn't what you think. Let me explain." I didn't respond. Her explanations were irrelevant. She'd chosen this path, and I'd make sure it led to ruin. I packed her things, not out of kindness but to clear her from my space. Lily asked when Mommy was coming home, and I said, "Soon." My heart breaking. The revenge was nearly complete, but its cost was mounting. I was dismantling Claire's life, but mine was fracturing too. The final blow was coming, and it would be surgical, designed to leave her with nothing but regret. Rachel, my lawyer, moved fast. She filed for divorce, citing Claire's infidelity and financial misconduct, and requested full custody of Lily. The journal and credit card statements were gold. Proof Claire had siphoned our joint account for her art with Evan. Rachel also pushed for an unequal asset split, arguing Claire's actions had destabilized our family. "She'll be lucky to keep her camera," Rachel said, her voice sharp. I nodded, the architect in me appreciating the precision, the husband dreading the fallout. I met Claire at a neutral coffee shop to serve the papers, my first time seeing her since the gallery. She looked hollow, her eyes red, her vibrancy gone. "Daniel, please," she started. But I slid the envelope across the table. "Sign," I said, my voice flat. She begged to explain, claiming the living sculptures were art, not love, that Evan was a partner, not a lover. I didn't buy it. The journal's intimacy, the motel photos told a different story. She'd built a fantasy and I was collateral damage. Claire's career was in freefall. The leaked details about her project had spread, and galleries blacklisted her. Evan's name was mud too. His debts and the scandal made him untouchable. I'd sent the Bainbridge footage to his landlord, anonymously, hinting at character concerns. He was evicted, his dreams of an exhibit dead. Claire tried to salvage her reputation, posting apologies on X, but the art world had moved on. Her betrayal's uniqueness, its artistic veneer, made her fall more spectacular. Lily was my priority. I enrolled her in counseling, framing Claire's absence as a work trip. The lie hurt, but the truth was worse. My parents helped, but their pitying look stung. Mark, ever blunt, asked if I'd considered reconciliation for Lily's sake. I hadn't. Claire's betrayal wasn't just personal. It was a betrayal of our daughter's trust, her stability. I'd protect Lily, even if it meant cutting Claire out entirely. I sold Claire's studio equipment, using the proceeds to bolster Lily's college fund. The house was next, I downsize, start fresh, erase Claire's presence. Rachel warned Claire might countersue, but her leverage was gone. The journal, now in Rachel's hands, was a legal dagger, detailing her deliberate deception. As I packed Claire's prints, I found one of Lily, her smile radiant. I kept it, a reminder of what I was fighting for. The revenge was almost complete, but its weight was heavy. I'd torn Claire's world apart, but mine was still in pieces. The final act was coming, and it would ensure she'd never rebuild on my ruins. The final phase of my revenge was personal, designed to hit Claire where it hurt most, her identity as an artist. I'd already destroyed her career and finances, but she still clung to her creative persona, posting defiant sketches on X, claiming she'd rise again. Couldn't allow that. Her living sculptures with Evan had been her pride, a secret she'd nurtured at my expense. I'd take that too, leaving her with nothing but the ashes of her ambition. I contacted a hacker, a discreet contact from a past project, and paid him to erase Claire's digital footprint. Her cloud backups, her portfolio, her unpublished sculpture photos with Evan, gone in a night. The hacker planted a virus that corrupted her website's archives, ensuring no trace of her work remained online. I also donated her physical prints to a local charity, anonymously under the guise of decluttering. Her art, her legacy was vanishing piece by piece. I didn't stop there. I reached out to Evan's ex-girlfriend, a barista I'd found through his old social media. She was bitter, eager to talk. I fed her details of Evan's role in Claire's betrayal, framing him as the instigator. She spread the story in Seattle's tight-knit art circles, ensuring Evan's name was poison. His eviction had left him couch surfing. Now, his reputation was beyond repair. He'd been Claire's muse, her escape. Now he was her liability. Claire showed up at the house, unannounced, begging to see Lily. She was a shadow of herself, her hair unkempt, her voice raw. "You've taken everything, Daniel," she said, tears streaming. "My work, my life, why?" I didn't flinch. "You took my trust, my family," I replied. "This is balance." She tried to appeal to my love for her, but I felt nothing. The journal had killed that, its pages a map of her deceit. I let her see Lily for 10 minutes, supervised, then sent her away. Lily's confusion was a knife, but I'd shield her from Claire's chaos. The divorce hearing was approaching, and Rachel was confident. Claire had no defense. Her journal, the footage, the financial records were airtight. I'd get the house, the savings, and custody. Claire would get scraps, maybe alimony if she was lucky. The architect in me saw the structure complete. A life dismantled, a betrayal avenged. But the husband in me was weary. Lily's questions grew harder. "Why doesn't Mommy live here?" And my answers thinner. The revenge was cruel, yes, but necessary. Claire had built a world without me. Now she'd live in its ruins. I looked at Lily's photo, my anchor, and steeled myself for the final chapter. The divorce hearing was clinical, a stark contrast to the emotional chaos of the past months. Rachel presented our case with surgical precision. Claire's journal, the Bainbridge footage, the financial records, all laid bare. Claire's lawyer tried to argue emotional distress, claiming her artistic exploration with Evan wasn't infidelity, but the judge wasn't swayed. The journal's vivid descriptions, her calling Evan her true muse, dismissing me as stagnant, painted her as deliberate, not desperate. The courtroom was silent as Rachel played a censored clip of the footage, Claire's face crumpling. I sat stone-faced, Lily's photo in my pocket, a reminder of why I'd fought so hard. Claire looked at me once, her eyes pleading, but I turned away. The judge granted me full custody, the house, and most of our savings. Claire got minimal alimony and a warning to stay current on child support. Her career was dead, her art erased, her reputation ashes. She left the courtroom alone, her shoulders slumped, a stranger to the woman I'd married. I moved forward, but not without scars. Lily started therapy, her questions about Claire turning to quiet sadness. I sold the house, too full of memories, and bought a smaller one near her school, a fresh start. I framed her photo, hanging it in the living room, a beacon of purpose. My work as an architect steadied me. Clean lines, solid foundations, things I could control. But nights were hard, the silence heavy with what I'd lost. Even if I'd won. Claire tried to rebuild. Ex-posts showed her sketching in a small apartment, but her followers were gone, her spark dimmed. Evan had left Seattle, rumors placing him in Portland, broke and disgraced. Their living sculptures were a forgotten footnote, mocked in art forums. I didn't check on them often. My focus was Lily, our new life. But when I did, I felt a grim satisfaction. The non-standard Betrayal, with its artistic facade, had demanded a non-standard revenge, and I'd delivered. Mark visited, offering cautious approval. "You protected Lily," he said, "but you paid a price." He was right. The revenge had been cruel, dismantling Claire's world, but it hadn't healed me. I carried the journal's words, Claire's dismissal of me, like a weight. Yet I'd do it again. For Lily, for the life she deserved. I took her to the park, her laughter a fragile hope. The architect in me was rebuilding not a marriage but a future. Claire's betrayal was behind us, its cost etched into my bones. A year later, Lily and I were finding our rhythm. Our new home was small but ours, filled with her drawings and my blueprints. She was thriving, her therapist noting her resilience, though she still asked about Claire. I was honest, within limits. "Mommy made choices that hurt us, but she loves you." Claire had visitation rights, supervised, but she rarely showed. Her life was a shadow, odd jobs, no art, no Evan. Ex-posts showed her sketching alone, her fire gone. I didn't pity her. She'd chosen this. My revenge had been cruel, dismantling her identity as an artist, her connection to Evan, her place in our world. The non-standard Betrayal, those living sculptures that blended intimacy and art, had demanded a response that matched its audacity. Erasing her digital work, leaking her project, exposing her at the gallery. It was a symphony of destruction, each note precise. Evan's fall was collateral, his debts and disgrace a bonus. The architect in me admired the design. The husband bore its cost. Lily was my focus. I coached her soccer team, attended her school plays, built her a treehouse. Her laughter was my foundation, stronger than the one Claire and I had shared. I dated once, a kind teacher, but it fizzled. Trust was hard to rebuild. Work flourished. My firm landed a city contract, my blueprints shaping Seattle's skyline. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was building while Claire's world lay in ruins. I saw Claire once at a grocery store. She looked older, her eyes dull. She tried to speak, but I walked away, Lily's hand in mine. The journal's words still stung, but they'd lost their power. Claire's betrayal had been a catalyst, forcing me to redefine myself. Not just as a husband, but as a father, a creator. I didn't forgive her, but I didn't need to. She was a ghost, irrelevant to our future. Mark threw a barbecue, and I brought Lily, her smile lighting the yard. Friends asked about Claire, and I shrugged. She's gone. They didn't press. The revenge, once a fire, was now embers, its purpose served. I'd protected Lily, secured our life, and buried Claire's lies. The non-standard betrayal had been her masterpiece. My response was mine. As Lily ran through the grass, I sketched a mental blueprint, a life of stability, love, and truth. The architect in me was satisfied, the husband healing. Claire's world was gone, but ours was rising, stronger than ever.